Welcome back to another episode of the BioHub and Avetix podcast. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Maurits Geerlings, President and CEO of NanoCell Therapeutics. Maurits is a true biotech entrepreneur. He's co-founded and built multiple companies, including Actinium, Formula, and Mirata, and now he's on a mission to revolutionize in-vivo cell engineering. In this conversation, we dive into Maurits's journey, the unique structure of NanoCell, the challenges and opportunities in cell therapy right now, and his bold vision for the future of this field. It's a pleasure to have you, Maurits. How are you?
Thank you, Max. Really a pleasure to be on your podcast and enjoying very much.
Yeah, honestly, amazing to have you. Let's just start off with you. You've co-founded multiple companies. I just mentioned a few there, Actinium, Formula, and now NanoCell. What first drew you into biotech? And also, what keeps you coming back to starting something new?
So, having studied medicine in the Netherlands, I came to the conclusion that for me, having a physician path and career is a bit of a professional claustrophobia, because you get to specialize farther and farther into a particular field. And my curiosity went a bit beyond just being a doctor. And I thought that having nonetheless a great appreciation for the medical area, I thought probably as a life sciences entrepreneur, I could contribute more and be more in tune with everything else around it, the finance side, the legal side, the regulatory side, and the medical clinical side. And that brings us to life science entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I love that. And it's the fact that you go do something, build, then go do another thing, build. What is it about the beginning that you like so much?
It's exactly that. Starting something that is an uncharted path. I guess I'm a very curious person, and also eager to venture into an unbeaten path. And that comes also with the interest in bringing together people from different backgrounds, different disciplines, different skill sets, and starting something de novo. That is beautiful to do so. And that brought me to Actinium. It was a company that it was an idea and had a lot of hurdles to overcome that we succeeded in. And similar so with Formula Pharma and now NanoCell. Formula was a company that focused on CAR T therapy produced in an ex vivo manufacturing context. So it was differentiated with features that would make it more scalable for patients, but it would not answer the critical questions about how do you overcome patient access limitations, such as cost and also logistical issues. And as we have seen since the onset, the introduction of CAR T therapies, or for that matter, also TCR-T therapies, the patient access has lagged tremendously, and the commercial opportunity that was envisioned has fallen far from expectations. And that essentially led to the foundation of NanoCell, whereby we are looking to overcome these critical limitations, such as high costs, the manufacturing logistics, or the patient's logistics, or the time it takes for a patient to be treated after being deemed eligible for CAR T therapy. And that you can, in theory, overcome with in vivo CAR T. So that brought me to found NanoCell. And I have to say, it has been the most exciting venture yet.
That's amazing. And you talk about those issues in cell and gene therapy. What came first? Was it the technology for NanoCell, or did you spot those issues and then go, well, how do we solve them? So did you look at the mistake and then, or is it the opposite way around?
So while I was running Formula Pharma, um, and knowing that the company would basically be transitioning into an exit, right, a sale to another larger company, I was very inspired by a publication that came out by Fred Hutch Cancer Center, where they basically presented the concept of in vivo CAR T therapy using polymeric nanoparticles and DNA. And looking at that work, I realized that um, two limitations there were. Number one, the technology that was described was okay for animal studies, but not really adaptable for human use. And the second one was that the technology was not protected by intellectual property. And in order to start a company, you need to have solid IP. So, not being a company that is a spin out of academia, the inspiration came from that article. And so I started looking for technology that was licensable and that allowed us to basically bring together the initial components needed for the company to launch. And that happened in 2021.
Amazing. Yeah. And then this may well be what you were talking about in essence, but NanoCell it's a pretty unique model, right? In vivo cell engineering using non-viral DNA based technology. But can you just break down for people like me how this works and why you think it could be a game changer?
Right. Okay. So for decades, delivery of gene therapy, DNA in that case, has been done through viral vectors. So that has been very well known. And that is also essentially how the initial clinical experience, as we have now seen from other companies, resides in the field of viral vector delivery of DNA. Biotech is an example. And but there are limitations with regards to viral vector delivery of DNA at the manufacturing level. There is a well-known scalability and manufacturing capacity limitation, potentially also some safety aspects where the viral vector integrates, and also potentially immunogenicity. So in order to overcome mostly the manufacturing costs and scalability issues, you would want to focus on lipid nanoparticles because those are the most, I would say, well-known non-viral delivery vectors. The experience with LNPs, lipid nanoparticles, resides a lot in COVID experience with the delivery of RNA. Now, when you want to deliver DNA with lipid nanoparticles, there is a long-known challenge in getting the DNA into the nucleus of primary T cells, right? So somehow these immune cells have complexities and mechanisms that make it difficult for non-viral DNA to be deposited into the nucleus. We have spent 4 years within NanoCell to overcome those limitations, those hurdles. And what we have developed is a nanoparticle, a lipid nanoparticle that contains the therapeutic DNA in the form of a mini-circle DNA. So that is a gene of interest that codes for the CAR therapy or the TCR therapy. And that is loaded in that LNP. Also, what we do is we load RNA in the same particle, and that RNA prescribes for a transposase technology. What that means is that the transposase takes the DNA and integrates that into the genome of the targeted T cell. So we have these two nucleic acid components. Then we coat the lipid nanoparticle with a protein that is a form of an antibody type protein that directs the LNP specifically to T cells. And we can also target NK cells, natural killer cells. What that then does is provides that specificity of the targeting of your LNP to your immune cells of interest. And then the T cell takes up the particle. And then one last hurdle that we need to overcome is the delivery, the transportation of DNA from cytoplasm into the nucleus of the T cell. And that requires T cell activation. And we activate these T cells by way of a fusion protein that combines the targeting of the T cell with the activation of the T cell. The activation is done through CD3, which is a T cell specific antigen that helps activate these T cells. And the targeting occurs via a CD7 binding. So that's the whole mechanism. It sounds maybe simple by describing the components, but it is not exactly straightforward, because it requires the combination of a variety of specific compositions of matter, the proportionality, the functionality, the formulation, and all that makes it really a four-dimensional Rubik's Cube effort to resolve these hurdles associated with non-viral delivery. But we succeeded. We have been able to transfect T cells in vivo and turn them into CAR T cells with high efficiency. We get 60 to 90% circulating CAR T cells in the blood. Very long lasting. We have data going beyond 140 days. We have shown tumor control in mice that carry a high burden of highly aggressive leukemia and lymphoma cells. And we have been able to show elimination of that. So we are very excited now to transition to the development of our clinical candidate and get to the clinic as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's awesome. Super exciting what you guys are doing. But I suppose there's also this aspect of the cell therapy space being really exciting, but also at the moment at least notoriously challenging. How do you see the market, and what keeps you so optimistic about what you guys are doing?
The market has been really negatively affected by the lack of patient access, right? So we have a very promising CAR T mechanism, and for that matter, it is also TCR-T therapy. That is the same approach. But overcoming those patient access issues, such as cost and logistics, that requires really the in vivo approach. And why I'm so optimistic is that the vast majority of patients that are eligible for CAR T therapy are actually available, right? They are in the periphery of the highly specialized hospitals. And that is exactly where we envision in vivo CAR T to be prescribable and administrable in community settings where patients can be treated nearby where they live and under control of their oncologist, as opposed to being reliant on a very far geographically distant specialized hospital with a limited bed capacity under the care of a different team. And so the vast majority of patients that actually could benefit from CAR T are yet to get access to it. And I think that in vivo CAR T really has that promise that this can become mainstream as opposed to a treatment for the few. And my personal definition for success for this is actually being able to see this treatment prescribed, widely prescribed in countries that are typically left out. South America, Africa, Middle East, Asian countries, right, that don't have that healthcare insurance infrastructure like what we have.
Yeah, and that's all part of this big, bold vision for making cell therapy more scalable and accessible that you talk about. What does that big picture success look like for you in, say, the next 5-10 years?
Well, that essentially means that multiple clinical indications are pursued, both in oncology as well as in autoimmune disease, because CAR-T has shown its benefits in autoimmune as well. But really, to see this type of treatment being administered, tested, and then commercialized in countries that now are left out, that I think is the litmus test. Are you able to commercialize this in India, in Africa, in Middle East, in South America, right? Those countries. That for me would be absolutely a celebration for this field.
Yeah, because that's the issue at the moment, right? Like this, the cost, the scalability. Like
Yeah.
I see the passion as well, and like it seems like a problem everyone should be looking at, right? But like maybe there's times in the market it's like, is this the right time to be doing something so ambitious? But I love like the way you think, the way you guys are going about it. I just think it's awesome.
This is truly democratizing therapy, right? There's a lot of words
Yeah,
about that, how to democratize, but I think that in vivo CAR-T has that promise. But you also want to be most scalable and not have the manufacturing limitations, right? So that is another factor that weighs in practice in whether or not you truly can deliver to patients. And that is why NanoCell has been able to stand out as a company delivering non-viral DNA.
yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, you personally as well, you've navigated fundraising, partnerships, and multiple exits. What advice would you give to other biotech founders trying to build something transformative today?
So what is important is to keep in mind that nothing is a straight line, and that while you keep very focused on a vision and your objectives, right, very important to measure what matters. There's a great book that came out of that also applied to biotech. But you always need to keep in mind that you might have to pivot, and so having a plan B and plan C in mind and being able to adapt to circumstances, that needs to be part of your tool set and your mindset in order to succeed as an entrepreneur. And
Yeah,
that also applied to NanoCell, because we started as a company working with polymeric nanoparticle technology, and 9 months in, we absolutely broke our heads, and it goes like, why can't we get this to work, right? And so we pivoted. So rather than take a major defeat, we said, well, let's take what we learned and put it into a lipid formulation. And what was important there is that with polymeric nanoparticles, we couldn't get it to be a stable product. So it fell apart in the process of producing it. With lipids, you have the type of chemistry that actually keeps the drug, stable.
yeah,
And but before you realize it, because you go off of what you read in literature, it takes a while, but you can learn much along the way, and that flexibility was very important for NanoCell, and the persistence also is very effective for your investors, because the investors love to support a team that knows how to overcome and weather
yeah.
through the biggest crises, right? Because you
That's
cannot.
interesting. How does that conversation go when you go to the investors who originally invested in that idea and you go, actually, like, we've got this wrong? we think we should take this route. Is that a positive conversation in your eyes, or?
It depends on how you prepare your investors, right? If there's hope and there is very clear commitment from the team to continue, because also the team you need to keep together, then investors are really supportive of that, at least ours. And we were able to, that particular crisis year, raise twice as much as we started, only because we actually overcame a big problem, right? So
Yeah. Is there an element of that, because you actually just hinted at it as well? Is there an element of getting the right investors as well that are invested in you and that journey rather than specifically that idea?
very much so. You would want to start with investors who share a motivation that is not primarily driven by an exit, right? By money. So the investors that we assembled were what you can call visionary investors, right? They shared the vision of developing an in-vivo CAR-T platform for the benefit for patients, because also the opportunity is grand. The opportunity for patients, for the field of medicine. That's a very important mindset that you need to have among your investors. Secondarily, of course, there are the financial parameters. But our investors were also prepared to accept a setback, right? Even a material setback. But then it comes back to the team. How strong is the team? How committed is the team and capable in actually overcoming issues? And as we were experiencing already the critical difficulties, we started already working with the pivot. And so it was not like, oh, investor, we are completely in the blank. We don't know yet what to do. Give us some time. We already were able to overlap with data and say, while this has not shown success thus far, we are starting to make some very interesting breakthrough with another approach, right? So if we can elaborate on that, within a certain period of time, we expect to have reached a certain data point that really is worthy supporting further.
Yeah.
So
on a personal note, how stressful is that? Like, is not really, or?
It is, but you also, as an entrepreneur, you need to be willing to look death in the eye, right? And to fly in an airplane that has two clipped wings and half a propeller. I mean, and then face a big mountain, right?
That sounds about right.
I mean, how do you think that the James Bond movies were invented, with those scenes where the last second you see that airplane just go over the mountain, right?
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, right. Those are the most exciting ones, right? These movies.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And look, this is my final question, and it's one I ask every guest that comes on the BioHub. I don't know if you've had a chance to think about this as well, Maurits, but if you could have dinner with any scientist or innovator, past or present, who would it be and why?
Yeah, well, there are a number of great scientists to pick out from, but I would say one of them, a contemporary one, is actually Elon Musk. Right, he is a controversial person, but he definitely has the status of a clear visionary innovator. Right, so he can transcend what many people believe is impossible, and that is hugely inspiring. And I would love to have a conversation with him, because I think that NanoCell has a bit of that flavor as well. Like, we are trying to achieve something that has been long believed is impossible, and yet there are so many hurdles to overcome. And so I would have a lot of questions for him in that regard. But beyond just being an entrepreneur, and I would love to tell him about what NanoCell does, and maybe he would support it, right? So
That's a good side bonus, 100%. I
that
mean,
would
I
be a
agree
bit
with
of a
you.
selfish approach.
I think you're right. Like Elon Musk is without doubt like one of the best innovators around. And what I like about him personally is that he comes up with an idea and then he thinks about how he can make it profitable in a business later. It's like, well, how do we execute this idea?
Yeah.
And then money comes after, which I really like, which is in a way like similar to what you're talking about with NanoCell.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And also, I would say, comes with in the back of the mind is who else would be very influential as mentors, right? People that you would have a cross path with. And on that note, for me, Frank Baldino at Cephalon was a very important person. I worked at Cephalon, and I saw him being a calculated visionary risk taker as an entrepreneur, and he built the company from scratch to a very meaningful enterprise. And what I saw in him is how he gave autonomy to the teams that were left free in resolving the problems and having that freedom of communication, and to a very large extent a lateral form of management. And that is so important also for NanoCell, because that's exactly how we were actually able to overcome the continuous flow of hurdles, right? Because when you talk about T cell complexity and LMP complexities, you have constantly, roads to take that are uncharted, and that comes with hurdles that you need to overcome. So complete open communication and freedom to solve issues and having the responsibility is also part of our corporate culture. And so as we started, it was like, okay, here we are with 6 people. We are SEAL Team 6, right? We do everything together. We celebrate together. We fight together. Nobody is left behind in what they do. And now we have SEAL Team 12. And I hope that this is also scalable as much as the TLMP technology is.
Yeah, amazing. Honestly, thank you so much for coming on, Maurits. It's a pleasure. Finance, like fascinating in everything you're saying in terms of the business, personality. Like, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Max. Great pleasure, and look forward to seeing each other again.
Yeah, absolutely. And please, everyone, like and subscribe to the BioHub. And thank you again, Maurits.
Thank you, Max. Bye bye.